I'm turning 26 in a little less than a week, and to celebrate being in my mid-20s, going on late 20s, I thought it'd be fun to make a bucket list. So I've written down 30 things that I want to do by the time I'm 30, and because I am a literalist, I put them in a bucket. And I love those TBR vlogs that booktubers do, where they will write down prompts and put them in a jar and pull them at random to choose the books they read for the month. I just think they're so fun. I wrote all of these down, so I know what all of them are. But just to mix it up a little bit and make it more fun, I thought I would draw them and read them one at a time instead of just like reading them off a list, because like, that's boring. So without further ado, let's begin. Try In and Out, a very unserious start to the list. I live in Indiana, very, very far away from any In and Outs, but I always see people eating there online and it looks really good. I'll have to either go to, like, where do they have them? California, Arizona, Texas, sometime in the next 4 years and try In and Out. We're off to a great start. A long one, okay. What does this say? I should have made these strips thicker. Learn to make ceramics or throw pottery. This is something I really, really want to do and really, really want to get into. About a year ago, I took my sister Becca to paint pottery as a sister date, and I had an absolute blast. Like, I'm an artist, so like painting is nothing new, but I really enjoyed doing it in a different medium, and I ended up making, I have it here somewhere actually. I ended up making this skiers mug, which I'm still obsessed with, and it's like almost the season to pull this out again. I'm very excited for that. For my dad's birthday, I bought him a pottery wheel like class or experience at the same pottery place. He threw pottery in high school, so he already was like familiar with it, had done it before, but it was new to me. So we had like two excursions. We threw pottery and then we painted it on another occasion, and I made this little, like, very, very small matcha bowl, actually like kind of impractically small, and it doesn't work super well, but I'm obsessed with how it came out, and I would love to explore throwing pottery or like pouring slip and mass producing porcelain ceramics to kind of expand my business in another direction, like art but on pottery. I think that would be so fun. I would have to make space in my current workshop for that, and I don't have a lot of spare space, but maybe it's worth going to the trouble for. So yes, it's a very, very fun thing that I want to do. Number 3. This is buy a piece of property. We are really off to the races here. There's been a couple times in the last year or so that I have looked at a piece of property locally and thought about buying it. I currently rent a flex space, which is like 1,400 square feet of warehouse, and it works for me really well, but the cost of rent adds a lot to my monthly overhead, and it would be really nice to invest my savings into something that would appreciate instead of constantly putting my money toward rent. I could also invest it in a house with like a garage instead and just run it out of my home. I feel like it would be a good thing to work toward in the future. Let's see. Attend a black tie event. I was writing these out last night and cutting them out, and my younger sister Juliana was reading through them, and she said, that sounds like a very you thing. And it really is. I think it sounds like so fun, and it really appeals to my fancy heart to like dress up in a fancy dress and be around everybody else at a fancy party in fancy outfits. Try composing. And when I say composing, I mean like digital composing. I've always thought this would be fun ever since Two Set did their like lo-fi composing video. It was really funny, and I had such a fun time watching it, and I thought it would be such a blast to try that sometime. Make sushi at home. This is one of like the easier things that I have on this list actually. I really love sushi, and I think it would just be like a fun activity, maybe for like a girls' night or something. The thought of buying raw fish and then like preparing it at home does kind of scare me though, but I don't know why it's any different from getting like sushi from the grocery store deli, because that's pretty much where I buy it all the time. I made these way too small. This one says, take a ballet class. Like, I'm not a very graceful person. I also like have terrible posture, and I don't know. I guess I have visions of taking a ballet class and suddenly becoming a graceful swan-like ballerina. Probably wouldn't happen, but I still want to try it. Attend a costume party. So, growing up Christian and not celebrating Halloween means that I have never been to a costume party before. I think they sound like a lot of fun. As it happens, I'm actually going to a costume party soon. So this will probably be one of the first things that I mark off my bucket list. So I think that's going to be a really fun time, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I actually have my costume like already planned and everything. I have a short one. I can see this says from the back. It says, do karaoke. Something I've been working on in my 20s so far is being more, something I've recognized in myself is that I'm super duper uptight and very, very, very perfectionistic. So like a few years ago, the thought of doing karaoke, it wouldn't have scared me. Like, I would have wanted to do it, but I would have been too scared of like just not being able to like do a good job, whatever that means when it comes to karaoke. And I think I've gotten a lot better at just dropping some of the pretentiousness, I can't even think of the word. I don't know. Some of my pretentiousness, I think I've gotten over a little bit. So now this would actually be a fun thing for me to do. Alright, another long one. Open a storefront or a pop-up. Okay, this is huge. Like, this is one of the like bigger, more difficult things I have on this list. Ever since I started a business, I thought it would be fun to open a little boutique. I love shopping in little boutiques. I think it would be so fun to merchandise a boutique, choosing all of the pretty things to sell, and like even just like choosing the music to play and the decor and making window displays. I don't know. All of it sounds so fun. However, it would be a huge financial investment, which is why I've also put pop-up on here, because like 1 or 2 months of opening a store is very different than signing like a 1 or 2 year lease. But this is definitely on my to-do list. This might tie into owning a piece of property. Like one of the properties I looked at this year it was actually really ideally configured for my business. It had like warehouse space in the back, office space in the front that could also be used for retail. I was really disappointed I wasn't able to buy it, but I guess God had something else planned because it did not work out. This one says do a chin-up. This has been on my to-do list for almost 3 years. When I started weightlifting, I did it with some like specific goals in mind, and doing a chin-up was one of them. I managed to start doing push-ups a few years ago, and that was a huge indicator of like I had gotten so much stronger. And so I thought, do a chin-up. Like, it's gonna be harder, but it's still achievable. And almost 3 years later, I still haven't achieved a chin-up. I did work on them very faithfully for like 2 years. Just every time I worked out, I would start with some assisted chin-ups. And there were times when I got kind of close. Like I only needed like 20, maybe 30 pounds assistance to do one. And then my gym got a new assist machine, and I hate it. The way it's configured is that instead of going straight up and down like a usual platform, it kind of dips, like, I can't remember if it's like back. I think it dips forward actually, and is like really, I feel like it's meant to imitate the motion of a pull-up. You're like pulling yourself up, but I've been training for chin-ups with a close grip, and it doesn't have a close grip like this way. It only has like this way, and then like the bars are like way out here. I'm going way down a rabbit hole. Anyway, I hate that machine with a passion, and I haven't touched it in months, and I guess I'll have to go back to doing them assisted with bands because I don't know how else I'm going to practice them. But that is something I would like to achieve eventually. I'm not a quitter. That's one thing about me. I am not a quitter, so I will be achieving that at some point, hopefully. Okay, here's another long one. Learn to play the piano by ear. I do play the piano, not so much currently, but in my teens I would play for like 45 minutes to an hour each day sometimes. Not seriously practicing, but just for enjoyment. I loved playing classical music, and I got pretty good at sight reading, but I do lack musicality. There's just some aspects of playing well that I never mastered, and I also never really learned to improvise or play by ear, and so that's what this is about. I think it would be a really great skill to have, and I think it would just be really fun to be able to sit down and just make something up as I go. Get a Pilates membership. I usually do barre classes at my gym, and I really enjoy those. I was going like once or twice a week, like every week last year. I've been to a couple of reformer Pilates classes and really enjoyed them. And my gym actually offers a really inexpensive Pilates membership, but it's doubles the cost of the gym membership for me. And so for me to invest in that, I really want to do it at a time when I'll have lots of opportunities to go. So I'm actually thinking about maybe signing up for that this coming winter, and it'd be like my cozy workout season like thing. But I'm really looking forward to that, actually. I think it'll be fun. This one's upside down. Travel somewhere by train. I have traveled by train in Europe, and I've been to Chicago a couple times. There's a train line that runs from my area into Chicagoland that I've been on a couple times. But what I'd like to do is take the train to Chicago and then to somewhere beyond that. I have a cousin who lives in Ann Arbor. He was like, you should totally take the train up here sometime, hang out in Ann Arbor, and then go on to Detroit. And I was like, that would be really fun. But another destination that I could potentially go to is Milwaukee, because there's train service to Chicago and then from Chicago to Milwaukee. And someone was actually just telling me, I think it's called the Hiawatha line. It's like the most reliable train service in the nation. So it sounds like a good time. I think it would make a really fun girls trip. So I might try to convince a couple of my girlfriends to come with me sometime. This one says go horseback riding. I've always been interested in horses. I loved drawing them when I was younger, and I loved watching like horse movies. I don't know what it is about like the horse girl aesthetic that is so attractive and enduring, but it is a thing. And I've always wanted to be a horse girl, but I've literally never ridden on a horse, so this is on my bucket list. Learn to meter film. Okay, so I have a Canon AE1 program, which is a film camera from the 80s that has an auto setting, and I got it in 2019, and I've just been shooting it on the auto setting ever since I got it because it takes pretty decent photos that way. I'm not camera savvy. I've gotten a little bit better at operating cameras since I started vlogging just out of necessity, and I understand the settings better, like f-stop and ISO, etc. And I've always told myself I was going to get a light meter, which is what you use to measure the light, and then you base your settings off of the readings on the light meter. And I've put it off because they're actually kind of expensive. They're like $200 to $300 for a good one. But I really love taking film photos. I got the film camera because I felt like I was taking so many lazy photos, and also like 40 photos of the same thing that are all the same, but you can't ever decide which ones to get rid of. And I just wanted to take some more thoughtful photos, because with film you have like maybe one or two opportunities to capture what you want to get, and then you get what you get. When I was really little, our family still used a film camera, and I remember going to pick them up from like Sam's Club. Film development was still kind of like a common thing, and so it's also a bit nostalgic for me. Learn to swim better. I didn't grow up going to any like public pools, and we didn't have a pool here at home, not even like a big one. We had like a little kiddie foot pool to play in. So I only had the opportunity to swim when we would go on vacations like once a year, maybe twice. And I didn't learn to swim until I was like 13 or 14. And then I could only doggy paddle. But my gym has a pool, and I've been practicing my swimming, like my strokes, and just trying to swim laps like maybe once a week. And I have gotten better, but I want to get even better. I feel like it's a good life skill to have. It's also great exercise. Catch a fish. I've gone fishing with like my dad before, my dad and my brothers, but I've never been like a licensed fisher, so I couldn't be the one like catching the fish. But I think it would be fun to try, and so maybe next time I have the opportunity, I will go try to catch a fish and be a fisherwoman. Host a murder mystery party. I love mysteries, like all things mysteries and like also thrillers. I grew up reading loads and loads of mysteries and have always been kind of obsessed with them. So the thought of hosting a murder mystery party sounds like so much fun. I guess I could also make that just like attend a murder mystery party. It's distinct from my costume party because everyone's dressing on a theme. I think with the right group of people it would be an absolute blast. And I would totally love to do that sometime. Visit a new country. So if I had made a bucket list in my early 20s, there would have been some things on it that I had included. And going to Europe would have been a big one. And I've had the opportunity to go to Europe twice now. This year I went to France, and last year I went to Italy. And both trips were incredible and just made like memories that will last for a lifetime. And they were both huge bucket list items too. And so and they were both bucket list countries. They were both very high on my list of places I want to go. For a long time I had England very, very high on my list, and then it was kind of eclipsed by France and Italy as I got older. But I would still love to go to England, and I would also love to go to Denmark and the Netherlands. I also think Spain looks really cool. Like very colorful and vibrant. So that's another place on my list. Canada isn't actually that far away from me. I can get there in like maybe 4 hours. So maybe Canada will be the country that marks off the list. I would also love to go to Banff. It looks absolutely stunning. But yeah, those are some of the places that I would like to go if I visit a new country. Climb a mountain. This doesn't have to be a high mountain. I just think it would be a neat experience. I've been out west a few times, and I've just been really impressed with the views and the scenery, and I've also enjoyed hiking, and I think this would be a really cool experience to have. Go sailing. Again, I think it would be really fun. In my head, I think of it as like a very aesthetic experience, but I would be fine with just like learning from someone on a really like small boat and having kind of like a hands-on experience. I think that would be pretty cool as well. Buy a real piece of art. This could be an old piece of art, or it could be a piece of art from like a contemporary artist. I don't really have like a preference necessarily. I just think it would be a neat, like tangible thing of value to have. I found a authentic painting in France at a flea market earlier this year, but I ended up giving it to my sister because I thought it would go well like in her home. Like she'd have a better place for it, and I don't regret that at all. So I'd love to find another thing like that. Oops, I dropped it back in. Another thing like that in the future. Getting down to the last few. Learn to do car maintenance and repairs. My dad is the best, and he does pretty much all of my car maintenance and repairs, but I feel like it would be a very practical, smart thing to know, specifically how to change a tire, but also how to change oil. I do know how to like add oil to my car, and I also know how to like add windshield wiper fluid and add air to my tires, but those aren't exactly like repairs, or I don't know. But I do feel like being able to like change a tire especially is a really important life skill that I should probably get under my belt at some point. Oh, we have a very long one. And I know this one because it's so long. It says design a collection for a brand like Anthropologie. It wouldn't have to be Anthropologie though. It could be pretty much any big brand. I have done art licensing before, so I've licensed art to Papyrus, and I licensed a bit of art to a children's clothing company a couple years ago, and this year I licensed some art to a pet products company, and that was actually for a collaboration they were doing with the photographer Gray Mallon, and he liked my artwork, which was very flattering because I like his photography. It's pretty cool. But the downside to that is that my name, my brand doesn't really get an exposure through that because it's not a collaboration. It's just they're licensing my art. And in that case, I didn't even get credit on the products, which is like kind of disappointing because it's not even good exposure at that point. So I would love to have like the illustrated life X fill in the blank. And like I said, it doesn't have to be for anthropology, but I feel like anthropology would be like the pinnacle of achievement as a small artist. I would be very, very proud to create something with them. I have like 3 more after this. This one says, live abroad for a month. I have an idea of where I would like to do this, but if I were to visit other places that I haven't been to yet, it might change. I like to spend a month in Paris because it just went by so fast. I feel like there's so many things to see and it would be fun to have an immersive experience living in another place. But as an alternative, I think it would be neat to maybe live in England for a month. That would certainly be a lot easier in terms of like culture and language, but I think this would be really fun. And honestly, like for how much it costs to travel, if you could find a short-term rental, it might even be a little bit cheaper in the long run than taking a shorter vacation. Yeah, it's just a matter of time in that case. Make sourdough. I was a huge baker when I was a teenager. I spent so much of my free time in the kitchen whipping up treats. But bread was something that I never really got into. I was always much more into like sweet baking than savory baking. And I know there's been like an ongoing sourdough craze for like forever now, so this is nothing new. But I do think it would be a cool skill to have. I mean, I love sourdough, so it would just be like, there's only perks, you know. Okay, last 2. Gotta mix them up. Go camping. This is something that me like 10 years ago would have been like aghast over. Like, why would you want to go camping? I actually think I would really enjoy it now. But I'm also kind of terrified at the thought of like being in a tent like all night in like the woods. Very terrifying. I think I would need to bring like one of my brothers or my dad with me. And then the last one is do the splits. Ending this on kind of an unserious note. I think I actually had the splits on my New Year's resolutions list. I don't have any kind of range of motion to do splits at the moment, and I think it would be really neat to be able to do them. Another thing that I would think would be really cool to do that's like a physical skill would be to do like a handstand. I saw a lady at my gym the other day doing handstands while I was doing hip thrusts, and so I called out to her and I was like, that's really cool, and she was like, oh, but like I could never do what you're doing. And I was like, no, actually, like it's very different. Like this, anybody can do this, you know. But it takes some practice to get a handstand. I feel like these like physical feats of like strength and agility are very cool to me for some reason, and I'd like to be able to achieve some of those. So that concludes my 30 before 30 bucket list. I don't know how many of these I will actually be able to accomplish, but maybe in like 4 years I'll come back and do a recap video and tell you all the things that I was and wasn't able to do on my list. I'd also like to take a second and just recognize some of the things that I was able to accomplish in my early 20s, like the first 5 years of my 20s, that I would have put on a bucket list if I'd written it like 5 years ago. Things like get a warehouse space. That was like a huge milestone for me. And now I've had a warehouse space for like 2 years, and it's just a pretty tangible indication of growth in my business. I also took some art classes, which was huge. Like really wanted to do that for a long time and really enjoyed those. I've actually had some great learning experiences in my 20s. I didn't go to college, so I really enjoyed having some independent learning opportunities instead. I also was able to take a couple years of voice lessons from a private teacher earlier in my 20s, and that was another huge thing that I had wanted to do, especially in my teens. I used to be really into singing. As far as travel goes, I've been to Europe not once but twice, and that was huge. I had never flown until I was in my 20s. That was another thing that I really wanted to do. oh, like I bought a car. I feel like that's a pretty big milestone. I also got my dream car. Maybe I could have dreamt bigger, but I feel like as it is, I have a really nice car, especially for someone in their early 20s to buy, and I enjoy driving it every time I get in, and I have no regrets about buying it. Also travel related is I was able to go on a really big out west road trip with my family last year. We went to 16 states, like over the course of over 2 weeks. Went all the way out to the Pacific Ocean, and it was a trip that we had talked about doing since we were all really young, but we wanted to wait until my siblings were old enough to remember the experience. So it was really exciting to be able to go, and we just had a blast and made some fantastic memories. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head except that I've gotten to see the Northern Lights twice this year, and that's something that I think I would definitely put on a list. If I hadn't seen it yet, it would have gone on my bucket list. And I've also gotten to go skiing, which was something else that I really, really wanted to do. Every winter I end up on like Ski Talk, or I don't know, whatever the equivalent of Instagram Reels is. And it just looked like so much fun, and I've had the opportunity to go several times now, so that's been really fun. So that is my 30 before 30 list. Please leave a comment and tell me something that's on your bucket list, regardless of your age. You don't have to have 30 of them, just something that you'd like to do or accomplish in your lifetime, or something that you've just really wanted to do, that you've gotten to do, that you enjoyed or you're proud of. Next time I see you, I will be 26 years old. Probably make like a birthday vlog. But yeah, I have some fun content coming up soon, and if you want to see that 4-year recap, I guess you'll just have to subscribe. So make sure you do that and like this video, and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Bye! Guys, I'm back because I wrapped up filming and everything, and I went and ate dinner, and then I remembered that I had something on my bucket list that I did not read, and it was go on a date. It fell on the ground and I forgot to say it. Maybe that's a sign. I'm currently single, and I've been in a relationship before, and I've been single for a while since then, and I feel like a relationship isn't something that you can like put a like strict timeline on. Like you could meet the person you marry at like literally any time, but I guess I feel like maybe I should go on at least one date by the time I'm 30. So yeah, check back check back in 4 years. It'll be interesting to see where this ends up. Maybe I'll still be single. I don't know. Maybe I'll be married and have kids. Who knows? And literally anything could happen. But yeah, it's a good reason to subscribe. Okay, bye.
Hello there, and welcome to the exciting world of kids.